Hello everyone, I am here today to make our chicken burrito bowl with you. This is a great make and take lunch for those of you on the go. So this one is going to be using our make and take mason jar. I can never remember the name, I can never get it just right, so I wanted to double check. Super easy, and the other thing that's great about this recipe is that it's really one of those that if you like it, you can prep it once and have it 2-3 times during the week. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take black beans, 1/4 cup, rinsed and drained, which I've already done, and you're going to layer that in the bottom of the jar. Alright, so I've done that, and then I've gone ahead and cooked, it's 1/2 cup of quinoa with 1.5 cups of water. And the recipe calls for, it says to use a 3-quart micro cooker. I used the 2-quart and it worked just fine. The reason it says to use the 3-quart is the lid on it is slightly different. It's a little bit more conducive for cooking rice and quinoa. However, if you don't cook large batches, you should be fine. So for this recipe, you can get away with a 2-quart. I probably wouldn't do it with a 1-quart. Too small. So pardon me as I try to do this without making a ginormous mess all over my table. So working on getting all that quinoa. And one thing you want to make sure of just too is to make sure that it's cooled. So it cooked in the microwave for about 15 minutes. I do like to check on it halfway through just to double check in the microwave just to make sure there's no weird errors that happened. And then, yeah. So I've gone ahead, smooth it out, gotta make it look pretty. Alright, and then, so I'm gonna use the lid as my little spoon holder here. Okay. And just as a heads up, I am not making the salad dressing. I have 2 really odd allergies. I'm allergic to ranch dressing and I'm allergic to black pepper. The fresher, the more allergic I am. So this, you make a homemade ranch dressing. I tend not to be allergic, but I just tend to stay away from ranch dressing. So I am going to skip making the ranch dressing today. However, if you watch the video, they will show you how to do it. It's very easy. Personally, I will probably actually just use enchilada sauce. So that's how I usually do it. So pardon me as I scroll through the recipe. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is it is calling for tomatoes. It's calling for 1/2 cup of cherry tomatoes, halved. So I'm pulling out I love cherry tomatoes. This is one of those foods that if I could literally eat them all the time, I would. Mine just fell on the floor. Alright, so I'm going to use the close and cut for this, which is one of my favorite tools. This is one of those that like I waited on getting and I don't know why. So this is literally all there is to it. Dump cherry tomatoes in here. Close the lid. Take chef's knife. You're going to press down, not too hard, just a little bit. And you're just going to go back and forth with the sawing motion till you get to the end. You can also do this with grapes. I don't mind the fact that they tell you that you have to cut up your kids' grapes until the age of 4. Still a pain, but it's not nearly as difficult now. And as you can see, my grapes are nicely cut up now. Or my cherry tomatoes. So, alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and layer those into my jar. One more. You lucky Lucy. Alright. Put that off to the side. Alright. Next thing it's calling for is 1/4 of a medium orange bell pepper cut in half. And again, because of the fact that we're only making a single serving, this recipe you can really get away with having it last you for multiple days. Or if you're not a singleton, and you have a spouse that likes the recipe, you can have it work for 2 of you, you know, and both of you take one. So It's a great recipe for that. So I always, when I cut the tops off my bell peppers, I always end up cutting them off like that just to get every last little bit because I hate waste. So, okay, so I've cut the top off of my bell pepper, and you're probably like, Carrie, what are you doing? So now I'm going to get this inside out, but I'm going to use your scoop loop for this. So I'm actually going to push this down on the inside, kind of wiggle it around, and wiggle it around some more, and then it pops, and as I popped it out without me even meaning to. So I popped it out, and as you can see, almost no seeds. It does a great job. The other thing that I will mention is if you have kids, or you just like carving pumpkins, it does a great job for carving pumpkins as well. And then you just use the smaller end to get those like the white vein part at the bottom. So that is that. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and just cut it into quarters. I'm going to pull out the quick slice and show you guys how that works. Normally, I'll be honest, if it was just me doing it, I probably wouldn't, just because of the fact that it's unless I was doing like more, if I was doing more than a single serving, I would use the quick slice. If I was doing a single serving of this recipe, I would not, just because I'd be like, I hate dishes. Sorry, it's the way it is. Love you, Pampered Chef, but until you guys come up with a tool that does all my dishes. And I don't have a dishwasher, so, and my kid's not old enough to do dishes yet. So, but I'm going to show you how the quick slice works. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut them all up, because if I don't use them for this recipe, I'll use them for something else. That's how my life is. So all I'm going to do is I took the blade out. This is the blade. It's got a little base here. So I'm just going to lay the pieces of, and I'm going to do probably half at a time. And you just lay it on here. And then I always tell people just kind of do it as like a little bit of a rocking motion. And then you have perfectly cut little slices. See how, look at how pretty. How pretty. We love fried zucchini. And it was kind of a like aha moment for us when one day we were like, wait a minute, we could use this. And you know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could cut it up by hand. That's how we've done it for years and years and years. And then we realized that, oh, hey, we could just cut it in smaller pieces and put it on this, and then you have nice even slices. So, light bulb. So now I'm just going to cut these other two, and that way I've got them for something else down the road, maybe fajitas or who knows, whatever my little heart desires. Because let's be honest, it's all about food prep. Just be careful because the blades are really sharp. So, all right, so I'm going to stick that in the sink. All right, so now that we've done that, now it's calling for a 1/4 cup of fresh corn thawed. Now one tool that I want to show you guys, we have so many like little small tools, and I'm like, you know, a lot of times you're like, oh, do I really need that? And then you get it, and you're like, how did I ever live my life before this tool? This is the can drainer. It's so simple. You take the top off, put it over the top of your can, and you flip it over and drain over. It's so simple, but gosh, it's just like one of those tools that really makes your life easier. So, and I mean, I've been using Pampered Chef tools for as long as I can remember, and this is one that I think I just got in the last 2 years. And I was like, why did I wait so long? I don't know. Just silly and stubborn, I guess. Okay, but so for this I need a 1/4 cup, not a 1/4 can. I'd be okay with a 1/4 can. I like corn on my salads. So that's why I'm gonna do a little bit of an overflowing one. So again, I'm just kind of push that to the side, make it look pretty. All right. And always, one of the things that's great about this recipe too is that if there's something that you don't care for, leave it out. My mom doesn't like black beans. So I told her the other day, and she was like, I really want to try the recipe, but I don't like black beans. So I'm like, okay, well, you don't like black beans. I'm like, do refried beans instead. She's like, oh. She's like, well, why didn't I think of that? I'm like, well, that's what you have me for. Okay. So now is calling for, and this is the other tricky part about this recipe, because it calls for, like, at this point, you're at 1.5 cups of shredded romaine lettuce. Okay, we don't have a lot of headspace in here. So this is where you just kind of want to use your spatula to kind of help push stuff down a little bit. So as you can see, once I push stuff down, I got more room. So in this one little layer kind of turns into, it's kind of a really pretty mishmash of colors. But can you imagine the oohs and ahs? I don't know if you guys are sitting in cubicles yet, but if you are, like you're sitting in your cubicle and like your next person's like, ooh, what are you having for lunch? Oh, check out my beautiful salad that I made. Look at how fancy I am. You know, and one of the things that I'm, you know, especially given where we are right now, it's just such a relief to have it where, you know, at least you know where your food came from. You know, it's one less person that you know that touched your food, and I'm not normally one of those people, but it makes me feel a little bit better. So, alright, so we got 1/2 cup there. And yes, I could use, for some reason, here's the thing, I could use a full cup for measuring this out. Instead, I'm going to use 3/2. Let me explain why. Because I have to fit it into the smaller one. If I try to use a full, see how I'm even kind of struggling a little bit with the half? If I were to use a full cup to try to get it in here, it's going to be a struggle. So that is why I am choosing to use 3/2 cup measurements instead of a full cup. So I hope that makes sense. And I'm just dropping lettuce everywhere. Thank goodness I washed my hands. And my floor, because I'm dropping food all over the floor. I always do when I do a live. I joke around. There ends up being more food on my floor after a live video, after I do a video than there does on the plate or wherever I'm supposed to be cooking with. Okay, and at this point, if you want to add something else, I like cheese. I like to do cheese. So I'm going to do a little bit of cheese. I shred my own. So that's why it's in this bag. So normally I would shred my own lettuce, but I didn't have time. So, and then last thing is the chicken. So this is, it calls for half a cup of chicken. So this is a chicken breast that I literally just cooked in the microwave on the toaster oven stoneware plate. I think it was completely frozen. Do as I say, not as I do. So don't do that. But from completely frozen, it was 6 minutes. And so I put just a little bit of chipotle seasoning. You can put whatever seasoning you want on there. I tend to change it up depending on my mood. My two favorites are either the chipotle or the smoky applewood rub. It's amazing. This depends on the mood that I'm in. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this into strips. I could use the quick cut, but I didn't think about that until now. So, and what's nice is I'll measure this out. Whatever is over the half a cup mark, I will save it for another day. Now the other nice thing too, just one food safety thing, cooked chicken, they recommend that once you cook it, that you only keep it in your refrigerator for no more than 2 to 3 days. So if you are hey, I want to cook for a whole week, but not eat until later in the week, 2 different options. One thing so you can either just not add to your salad until later in the week, or and just cook it like the day before and then add to your salad. Or what I will actually do sometimes is I will actually cook it and then throw it in the freezer in like a little one of those little snack size baggies, and just do that. So, all right, this might actually be, because that was a pretty thin chicken breast. No, about half. A little more than half. It's all right. So I'm gonna grab that in there. All right. So I've gone ahead and added that. Now, one of the things I want to show you about this that's really cool is if you notice that the lid looks like it's almost stacked. If you twist this open, that's where your salad dressing goes. And you might be like, Carrie, that doesn't hold a lot. Guess what? You don't need a lot. So this is going to help you with portion control. I don't have it here with me handy, but one of the questions I get a lot of times is, hey, it comes with a fork and a spoon, but the fork doesn't fit all the way to the bottom. The spoon doesn't reach all the way to the bottom. Pro tip. They actually have little notches on the fork and the spoon. If you hook them together, it makes a longer utensil so you can hit all the way to the bottom. So anyway, so this is so let me put the lid on. This is our beautiful chicken burrito bowl. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, you can shop with me anytime at Pampered Shop. Who knew that would be a tongue twister? pamperedchef.biz/C DeBoer. That's C as in cat, D as in dog, E as in Edward, B as in boy, OER. Or you can email me anytime with questions, and that's chefcarrieskitchen@gmail.com. Thanks so much, guys. Stay saucy, my friends.